Check it out. This is the Wispy slider from Unquiet Hands. I got mine with Zerk plates. The shell of it is titanium. Let's kind of mess around a little minute, and then I'm going to mess around for a minute, and then I'm going to take it apart. A lot of questions about this one. People are really curious if it's worth it. The hype for it has been pretty high. And that happens a lot when a slider like this drops, whether it's this or the Puchicon. The majority of my inbox are people asking me, if it's worth the hype. So I've received the same questions about the Unquiet Hands slider, which is their first, I believe. They are also the maker of those little piano rocker keys, where it's like a bar, and you can press the little metal piece back and forth. They have done plenty of other stuff as well. They're really well known for their bearing selection, but for spinners. Okay, let's take it apart. But I think this might be their first free-floating slider. What are we looking at here? More and more things are moving towards smaller, like T4 style screws, which I don't understand. Let's see. I have already opened it up. I didn't mess around with any modification or anything like that, so this is still set up in stock setting, but pretty unimpressed, I guess, with the inside. You'll see, that's that. It's pretty basic. There's no edge or anything like that that holds this plate in place. It's just held in place by these two bumps, and then of course the screws. So those set into there. There's no way to do like a flare style or a 2-click or anything like that. But so you've got, it's pretty thin though. Obviously that's kind of the novelty of the slider, is the machining aspect that is very interesting, is the overall thin body frame. So let's take that, let's put these screws back in, we'll weigh it a little bit, and also put it up against some other sliders, because one of the other things I hear people talk about a lot is that it looks long. And it does have a little more length to it than some of our other sliders here. If I can get a hold of that one. There we go. All right. So overall, obviously, yes, the action is extremely fluid. It moves very smoothly. Some people said it was too loud. I think those might have been the people that got the Teflon bodies, which definitely have more of a thump to it. Kind of a loud thump that Zerk will kind of maybe muffle or have a little bit crisper sound to it. Stainless steel might muffle it a little bit. But my thing is, I've that's kind of been the space that I've occupied for a long time, which is perfectly balanced magnets in a slider. Where they move you know, very smooth and fluidly. And a lot of people don't get that because they don't modify their sliders. And so they'll say, how do you get the magnets to do those moves? It's because I've put, you know, weaker magnets and spent, you know, a good amount of time kind of perfecting the feel of it. If people just leave the N52s or N48s in there that they have from stock, it's never going to move that well. So it's really about magnet strength. And that's why maybe out of the box I didn't feel the most impressed with this, because it is something I've felt before, so it wasn't like an alien experience or anything like that. If you have never been into magnet modding, or, you know, trying out weaker magnets in different places and different configurations, this really may feel like a revelation to you. And that's cool. It's still a great slider. Now, one of the tips that somebody gave me was that when I use my scale, the magnets will affect the scale reading, which I had never thought about, I guess. And so I was just weighing directly on the platform. Now that says 57.3. They said you have to put something in there as a spacer. So let's see. Okay, that says 57, so maybe it was off 0.3 grams. Either way, that's a very interesting observation and thought that I hadn't thought about. So that very well could affect some different weights that I've taken. You'll have to excuse me, I've got hoarse throat, trying to make it through a couple more reviews. But, so the Wispy, how thin is it? Let's check it out. And then we'll put it up against a couple other sliders. At its highest point, 6.04 millimeters. For reference, here we've got the Skelly Verk at its highest point, 11.36. What else we got? Fidget Things SOB, 13.94. What about a Compiform V3? 6.36. So at its highest point, this Wispy is about the same height as a V3. However, that is as thin as the V3 gets, where the Wispy gets even thinner right here. 1.67 millimeters at its thinnest point. That's pretty wild. And I think that might be the winner for the thinnest slider. So I like this thing. In a Midwest winter, you know, my skin is not very grippy. It's very dry, and that can make it difficult to where I'm utilizing these high points a lot more than I normally would with a slider. Like, I'd love to push it there or push it in the middle. Due to the dryness of the weather, I'm using that corner a lot more. And then you get these nice edges to push off of. But it would be Would be nice for a little more texture on here. However, that's not the end of the world, and I still think this is an incredible slider. Okay, let's look at it with some other sliders next to it for size comparison. Let's see, what else do I have? There's a Kuko. Okay. So it's not too far off. I'd say, let's get measurement on this one as well. 46.81 millimeters, where your standard Magnus 43.34. So not a huge difference. I mean, you're not looking at anything like double the length or anything like that. I think this one definitely belongs right alongside these other guys. I know Unquiet Hands probably worked on this for a long time to really perfect it and make it exactly what they wanted it to be. And I think they definitely achieved that and kind of quickly entered the top slider pantheon. So congrats to Unquiet Hands. I really think they've got a great piece on their hands. And I know that I also saw like a glass finish blackened titanium version that they're releasing now, which of course that happens right after I buy the original. But very cool, and can't wait to see what else they do with it. That is the Unquiet Hands Wispy slider.